Last year, in its manifesto, Labour promised not to increase income tax, not to increase national insurance, and not to increase VAT. Does the Prime Minister still stand by his promises?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I'm glad that the Leader of the Opposition is now finally talking about the economy. I can update the House, Mr. Speaker. Retail sales are higher than expected. Inflation is lower than expected. Growth has been upgraded this year. And, Mr. Speaker, the UK stock market is at an all-time high. The budget is on the 26th of November, and we will lay out our plans. But I can tell the House now that we will build a stronger economy, we will cut NHS waiting lists and deliver a better future for our country.
Well, Mr. Speaker, yes. What a fascinating answer. It is not the same answer that I received when I asked exactly the same question, word for word, on the 9th of July. Then the Prime Minister replied with just one word, yes, and then he sat down with a smug grin on his face. What's changed in the past 4 months?
Mr. Speaker, as she well knows, no Prime Minister or Chancellor will ever set out their plans in advance. But, Mr. Speaker, I can say this, Mr. Speaker, because the figures on the productivity review that's being undertaken, this is a judgment on their record in office. Those figures are now coming through, and they confirm that the Tories did even more damage to the economy than we previously thought. Now, we will turn that around. We've already delivered the fastest growth in the G7 in the first half of this year. 5 interest rate cuts in a row. Trade deals with the US, EU and India. They broke the economy. We're fixing it.
You could power the national grid on all of that hot air. He promised to cut energy bills by £300. Energy bills have risen by £187. But let's look at someone else who's making a mess. Let's look at the Education Secretary. Oh, there she is. Labour pledged to recruit 6,500 more teachers. So can the Prime Minister tell the House how many extra teachers are there since she became Education Secretary?
More than when they left office. I'm very proud to say so. We're in an upward trajectory. Oh, Mr. Speaker, they left our health service on its knees. They left our schools in a mess. They left our economy absolutely broken. They should be utterly ashamed of their record in service.
Wrong. Mr. Speaker, there are now 400 fewer teachers since she came into office. She's shaking her head. It's on the DFE website. Does she not check it once in a while? I can understand that the Right Honourable Lady is angry. We're all angry at the mess she's making.
Mr. Speaker, to appoint one paedophile supporter cannot be excused as misfortune. To appoint 2 shows a catastrophic lack of judgment. The Right Honourable Gentleman once told this House that when a Prime Minister refuses to take responsibility, and I quote, "It only serves to convince people that things cannot get better, that governments cannot improve people's lives, and that progress is not possible because politics does not work." Does he still agree with himself? And does he share my fear that that is exactly what is happening now?
Minister. People in this country, millions of people, have been let down for years and years and years. And one of the reasons was austerity, which his party supported. He should take accountability and take responsibility for what he has inflicted on this country.
Mr. Speaker, I think I touched a raw nerve.
Mr. Speaker, I don't know what planet the Prime Minister is living on, but unemployment has gone up every single month under him. Youth unemployment, record levels. Graduate recruitment, lowest ever. He promised that he wouldn't increase taxes on working people, but he has. Last year, he increased national insurance. Last month, he froze income tax thresholds. So will the Prime Minister finally be honest and admit he broke his promise on tax?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I'm very proud that in the budget we had record investment into our public services, we stabilised the economy, and we bore down on the cost of living. They voted against all those measures.
Let's look at some other things the Prime Minister didn't get right first time, starting with the family farms tax. Some farmers were so terrified they sold their farms last year only for the Prime Minister to U-turn 2 days before Christmas. Will he apologise for the misery he's caused countless farmers?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the principle we put in place on inheritance tax is the right one. We listened, we made an aspirin. But what we're doing is turning the country around. Yes, we've changed the country. We've changed the failed approach of the last Tory government. They crashed the economy and sent mortgage rates through the roof. They left millions stuck on NHS waiting lists. They presided over the worst Parliament for living standards on record. Now we're turning that around. We're changing that. Inflation and interest rates are coming down. Waiting lists are coming down. Wages are up more in the first year of a Labour government than 10 years of the Tory government. But I understand, Mr. Speaker, that she's taking advice on change. She had Nadeem Zahawi in to ask his advice how to change and how to save her party. Please don't tell me she listened to his accountant. Next day after the advice, he jumped ship to reform, the 23rd former Tory MP to do so. I don't know which is more pitiful, the flood of former Tory MPs deserting her sinking ship, or the Reform Party so desperate to launder any old failed Tory politician.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister doesn't need to worry about me. I'm all right. And I didn't hear an apology. I didn't hear an apology to the farmers. Difficult week for the Prime Minister. So let's start with something simple. Can the Prime Minister tell the House how much his welfare bill is going to save?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, let me start by saying free school matters on this side of the House. Mr. Speaker, in relation to welfare, what we delivered last night was a bill which ends mandatory reassessment of those with severe disabilities. That is the right thing to do. It rebalances universal credit. That is long overdue, and it sets out a pathway to reform of PIP. Mr. Speaker, it's consistent with the principles I set out throughout. If you can work, you should work. If you need help into work, the state should provide the help. The system that they broke doesn't do so. And if you can't work...
I think there's one or two I can spot immediately. Usual voices, same names, please. It's too early to leave the chamber. Prime Minister.
And Mr. Speaker, if you can't work, you must be supported and protected.
Last year, Rachel Reeves warned in her budget response that extending the income tax threshold freeze would hurt working people, take money out of their pay slips, of course, and breach the manifesto. She told Parliament this in 2024.
I'm keeping every single promise on tax that I made in our manifesto. So there will be no extension of the freeze in income tax and national insurance thresholds beyond the decisions by the previous government.
Oh. Well, fast forward to yesterday afternoon, confronted on camera and being held accountable by members of Parliament, and the freezing of thresholds is suddenly this.
It was very clear that everyone would have to make a contribution. And you saw that in the budget on the 26th of November. We froze for an additional 3 years the tax thresholds, national insurance and income tax, that the previous government had frozen for 7 years. We extended that for a further 3 years. That's not a breach of the manifesto.
Oh, so the same policy she only last year called unfair, harmful and impossible to justify is now totally fine. Really? More people be dragged into higher taxes because their wages rise with inflation while the thresholds stay still. Reeves knew that last year. She said it out loud. This is why The public despise Westminster doublespeak and trust in politicians is at an all-time low because it treats the public like they can't remember what was said less than a year ago. But Rachel Reeves doesn't seem keen to take all the blame on herself.
There is a very close partnership between myself and the Prime Minister, and so we took him through all of these, all of the numbers and all of the options, and we decided it together as a team because that is what the Prime Minister and I am.
The impression that you would have to put our taxes up in order to fill a hole that we know did not exist. You put taxes up in part to increase the buffer, but also to spend £16 billion on welfare. Was it a lie when you told the country there'd be consequences because there were lower tax receipts?
The numbers that you are using shows that the headroom, the fiscal space, had deteriorated. That's exactly what those numbers show.
But
it
not
fell
by
from
nearly
9.9
as much as you'd led people to believe.
And of course, that didn't include the policy choices that we had made between the spring and the autumn, including on welfare and including on the winter fuel allowance. And so, of course, those are decisions that were already made. I said when those policies changed just before the summer that we would have to find that money in the budget. So I was very upfront about that. And yes, I did make the decision in the budget to scrap the 2-child limit. That was funded by increases in online gambling taxes and also by cracking down on tax avoidance and tax evasion, fully costed and fully funded, and lifting 500,000 children out of poverty.
This morning, she denied that she had lied about the financial situation on the way into the budget. Were you satisfied with her explanations?
Absolutely not. The Chancellor called an emergency press conference telling everyone about how terrible the state of the finances were. And now we have seen that the OBR had told her the complete opposite. She was raising taxes to pay for welfare. The only thing that was unfunded was the welfare payments which she has made, and she's doing it on the backs of a lot of people out there who are working very hard and getting poorer. And because of that, I believe she should resign.
She lied to the public and she lied to Parliament, and the OBR have called her out. And it's one thing to lie to the public, but our constitution has certain very firm rules. And one of those is, if a minister lies to Parliament and is discovered to have lied, and the OBR have made it very plain she did lie, they have to resign. The whole system depends on ministers not being allowed to lie willy-nilly to Parliament. So she did lie to Parliament, so she must resign.